Arkansas Section Bulletin, dateline May 29th, 2017. On this Memorial Day, we offer a sincere thanks to those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. This is a QST message.
Some Razorback hams celebrated a major milestone. 160 meters is going to start looking like a small wavelength soon. These stories and more, the Section News starts now.
From the capital city, this is the Arkansas Section Bulletin. Arkansas's first, on-the-air, news and bulletin service. And now, here are your hosts. Joshua Carroll, N5JLC, and Andy Holmes, K5PO.
Well, hello again. I am Joshua Carroll, N5JLC. Joining me today is Andy Holmes, N5PO. I think I got that right. Did I mess it up?
K5PO.
Hey, sometimes those letters matter.
Only matters a little bit. I've never met N5PO, but I'm sure he's a nice chap.
I've met a couple of the 5JLCs. I've met two of them, of different folks that have the same suffix as my call. But anyway, folks, we welcome you back to the Arkansas Section Bulletin. You may recall that we had our last episode about 7 years ago, and we're hoping that
yesterday.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just not that long ago. But we've got a few articles to cover today. We hope that you will help us keep this going as a monthly affair. So be sure to listen in at the end of the podcast, and we'll tell you how you can help subscribe and how you can send us stories of what you have going on that we can include in the next episode.
Absolutely.
So first off, our very first story. The University of Arkansas Amateur Radio Club recently celebrated a milestone. The club has been a licensed ham radio station for 100 years. Having been founded in 1916, it's one of the oldest university ham radio clubs in the country and has been on the air almost as long as radio licenses have been issued. The club's call letters, Whiskey 5 Yankee Mike, have been heard around the world and beyond. In 1995, club members helped establish a radio link between the Space Shuttle Endeavour and an elementary school in Huntsville. To cap a year of celebration, Arkansas State Senator Uvalde Lindsay of Fayetteville recognized the club with an Arkansas Senate citation. How awesome is that?
That's pretty great. I think it's just awesome to have this Arkansas club be such a long-standing, perennial, presence in the amateur radio world in general. It's pretty cool, and from our, the premier, university of the state as well. So it's really just a great story all around.
Absolutely, it is. I think, Kevin Thornton. He used to be a member.
K5KVN. I believe he's actually a past president as well of W5YM. So yeah, he was. It's a great club.
No, we won't hold that against them.
No, not at all. I'm sure they somehow managed to make it through despite his mingling. So they've came out better for it.
His meandering leadership.
The ARRL has issued has updated the old reliable band chart that we all have sitting around on our operating positions to include the new 630 meter and 2200 meter bands. These massive whale-sized bands are going to be interesting options for amateur radios very soon, though the ARRL is quick to point out that the bands are not yet cleared for use. The FCC report and order granting these allocations has not yet set an effective date for our use, meaning that unless you're part of some sort of test group or something of that sort, you're not yet legal to transmit on these particular bands. The FCC will publish a notice in the Federal Register when the start date has been made official. It is almost hard to imagine what a 630 meter or 2200 meter antenna looks like. That is massively large.
That's incredible. I think the best that one could hope for is maybe a quarter wavelength, but still, that's what is that? Just over 500 meters.
It's huge. I mean, I guess presumably we're all going to be operating with significantly inefficient antennas, massive loading coils, and the like to get on 630 and 2200 meter bands or either of those. And given that a lot of hams have a hard time finding a place or an effective way of getting a presence on 160 meters, which is a fraction of these bands in terms of the size of the wavelength. So it's just it's crazy to think about. But efficiency may not be all it's cracked up to be in this band on these bands anyway, since we're only allowed to transmit, I think, an effective radiated power of around 1 to 5 watts or so on the band. So we're not allowed to get much out anyway. But it'll be fun to when they flip these bands on for our use to actually see what some hams come up with antenna wise.
Absolutely.
I've been what the Arkansas hams are doing to get ready for this.
Yeah, I've been floored by some of the things that some guys are doing with the whisper modes. I haven't worked with that myself, but there's a whisper beacon that's run out of Conway, Pat Thomas, there at the in the Faulkner County Amateur Radio Club. He has I think 2 or 3 whisper beacons, as if I recall correctly, and it's really incredible. He's putting out less than a watt of power, and people are reporting that they hear this countries away. And this may end up being something similar.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And I think definitely we'll on these bands, we'll probably have, I think we'll be able to use, CW and phone, as well as I think some of the digital modes as well. This does seem like a great use case for like some of the Whisper and JT, like JT65, JT9, those sort of extremely weak signal modes, because it'll definitely be very limited power, very challenged, inefficient antennas we'll be using here. So those sort of modes will definitely put themselves to work. I'm excited about it. I like 160 meters myself, and this is way bigger physically. So I mean, I have a 160 meter inverted L hanging up in the trees in the backyard here in Northwest Arkansas, and that's a large antenna. So like I said, I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to be wiring or running this 630 or 2200 meter band antenna, but I'll try to find some space for it.
No doubt. Yeah, I enjoy JT65. I know a lot of folks think that that's like watching grass grow, but it's a lot of fun to me just to be able to reach out with just a fraction of the power that you would think it needs to reach certain areas of the planet. And, I've made contacts from right here using JT65 and 20 watts of power. I've made QSOs that are confirmed QSOs with Russia, Japan, Australia, and so on, completely on the other side of the planet with, like I said, 20 watts. And, for a lot of folks, that's a lot of power with JT65.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't. I personally don't find those modes particularly exciting in the sense of their pacing. I tend to prefer kind of quicker paced QSOs, but I think what I do find about them exciting is, to your point, their capability of providing a QSO in an environment that otherwise it just wouldn't be possible, right? So, right. And under conditions that otherwise you wouldn't be able to make a contact at all, even with maybe even CW or something. So. Right. It's pretty cool stuff. Definitely has a place, especially in these really weak signal environments. So it'll be cool to see how it turns out for us.
Absolutely. Well, our next story comes from NASA. NASA reports that their Van Allen space probes have spotted a man-made barrier shrouding the Earth. NASA says that humans have long been shaping Earth's landscapes, but now scientists know that we can shape our near-space environment as well. A certain type of communications known as very low frequency, or VLF, radio communications have been found to interact with particles in space, affecting how and where they move. At times, these interactions can create a barrier around Earth against natural high-energy particle radiation in space. These results, part of a comprehensive paper on human-induced space weather, were recently published in Space Science Reviews magazine. Now, a number of experiments and observations have figured out that under the right conditions, radio communication signals in the VLF frequency range can in fact affect the properties of the high-energy radiation environment around the Earth. It's such a neat article to me, Andy, just simply because you have so much news around how humans have adversely affected the environment of the Earth. And here's one where something we did, and of course we didn't do it on purpose. This was an accident, of course, but it's actually helping to create an additional barrier from radiation around the Earth.
Yeah, that's entirely fascinating. I guess you never think about amateur radio being, you think about perhaps some of what we might conduct. And obviously, there's not a tremendous amount of very low frequency activity in amateur radio, of course, but you think about radio waves and emitting radio waves as being potentially something valuable for communication, maybe even life-saving communication, but you wouldn't think it would have some sort of protective value for our environment or our atmosphere. So that's a fascinating turn for what radio frequency and radio waves could do, as if we're lacking things to show us how fascinating the world of RF can truly be.
Absolutely. Before we continue, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the Arkansas Section Bulletin. This is November 5, Juliet Lima Charlie.
And Kilo 5, Papa Oscar. All right, a couple of recent events here in the great state of Arkansas. On May 9, Skywarn training was held in the Stone County Fairgrounds in Mountain View. That from our section manager, James Ferguson, N5LKE.
Hot Springs Village Amateur Radio Club recently sponsored a license exam session on Saturday, May 13th at the Garland County Public Library. More information on future events, you can contact Bill Stewart, Whiskey Alpha 9, Alpha Quebec, Quebec.
Also on May 13, Hammond in the Park, a picnic on that Saturday at the Tyson Regional Park in Springdale occurred. Lots of fun there. Got some pictures actually on the ARRL Arkansas Section website or Arkansas Section Facebook page, rather, submitted by Kirk Seifert, Whiskey 5 Kilo Romeo Kilo.
And the North Central Arkansas Amateur Radio Service assisted with the 65 Roses bicycle race on May 13th as well. Now, this is a race that supports the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
The 65 Roses story dates back to 1965, when an observant 4-year-old, hearing the name of his disease for the first time, pronounced cystic fibrosis as 65 roses. Today, 65 roses is a term often used by young children with cystic fibrosis to pronounce the name of their disease.
That is sad, but very cute.
It is indeed both. And it's nice that they kept that piece of lore, and kind of intact with the naming the race accordingly. Yeah. That's actually pretty cool, and a nod to that young man.
Well, some upcoming events here in the state. The Cabot Stars Club will be operating from the USS Razorback on June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th as part of the annual Museum Ships on the Air event. Anyone who is interested in helping to cover a time slot during the event can find out more information on Facebook by searching for Cabot Stars Club. Have you ever seen the USS Razorback?
I haven't, no.
It's really neat. It's a submarine. It was used in the Turkish Navy as well as the U.S. Navy, and it served a very long period of time in the water. And I actually had an opportunity several years ago to go and spend the night on board the Razorback. It was a lot of fun. We took our Cub Scout troop or pack, Cub Scout pack out there, and we had I want to say it was around 50 boys, probably 10 dads. And we went up there and we found a bunk each. Let me tell you something. I'm 6'5", I'm 6'2". I'm 6'5". I just came up with that out of nowhere.
Plus a couple for the radio, I guess.
Yeah, right. But I'm 6'2". They did not make these bunks for someone who is 6'2".
I imagine not.
I had to lay on my back, and then my legs wouldn't stretch out, so I had to bend my knees. But in order to bend my knees, if I did it, they were hitting the top of the bunk above, or the bottom of the bunk above me. Then I had to turn my knees to the side, but I couldn't lay on my side because it was not wide enough for my shoulders. So I ended up kind of sleeping in this really awkward position. Needless to say, I was extremely sore the next day, but it was a lot of fun. The kids loved it. We had this great tour beforehand, and we had a pizza and a movie, and then we went inside. Everybody found a bunk. It was a great time. Like I said, the kids freaking loved it, and I was just fascinated with the radio room. We walked past there, and the guy says on part of our tour, he says the radio room is still fully functional, and I perked my ears. I'm like, really? So can we turn it on? He said, well, yeah. Any other time we can throw out the long wire antenna on top, and you can plug right in, and there you go. I'm thinking that is beautiful. Well, that's exactly what these guys are doing. And again, They've opened it up to a few other ham radio clubs around the state. They may still have some time slots open. So if you're interested in that, that's coming up next weekend. So if you want to join in on that, I'd get a hold of them quickly.
Wow, that's very cool. Yeah, reach out to the Cabot Stars about maybe getting securing a spot on there if they have some left. Very neat. I think you're talking about that bed for your one night stay in the sub. I'm sure there were some 6 foot plus sailors when it was an operational sub. They had to do that every night. I can't imagine. Probably needed some good chiropractic care.
I had heard rumors from
serving.
Yeah, I had heard that, and this may be false, I don't know, but I haven't researched it actually, but I had heard that to serve on board a submarine in years past, you had to meet a height requirement. And so you couldn't be taller than this.
Well, I guess I suppose that does make sense, right? I think there's a similar thing, I believe, for pilots in certain aircraft.
Right.
Because if you simply can't fit appropriately in the cockpit, it would make sense that you wouldn't, that would make sense. And it sounds like from your experience, there's probably a good reason if they chose to limit it to folks at a certain height.
Right.
Well, coming up on June 10, we have a technician class at the Rogers, Arkansas Mercy Hospital. This 2-day class will teach those new to amateur radio everything they need to know for the technician license exam. For additional details, contact Aaron Matthews, Kilo 9 Alpha Lima Mike, or find some additional details on the Arkansas ARRL Facebook page.
June 18th is the ARRL Kids Day. Kids Day is designed to give on-the-air experience to young people and hopefully foster interest in getting a license of their own. It is intended to give older hams a chance to share their station and love for amateur radio with their children.
That's just good fun there, and it's cool that ARRL sets aside a specific day to try to promote this, because obviously we can't. You hear it all the time, but it's just an everlasting truism that the kids will be the future of the hobby eventually, no matter what. And that's basically how time works, and a lot of us get older, and the hobby does have a great representation of older folks in it. But so this is a great opportunity for those folks to share their love for the hobby, share their passion for radio and the magic of radio with some young ones that might be interested in joining and getting a license themselves. Very cool.
Yeah, every year my son and I participate in the Jamboree on the Air event. It's another Boy Scout event, and he has so much fun with that. Last year he sat down here and it's a couple of years ago actually, he sat down here and I showed him how to do it and how to call, and he actually knows nearly all of the phonetic alphabet just by rote memory. Just he can spell out entire words just without any issue at all. And so he sat over here, and after I'd given him some guidance, he was calling CQ and answering pileups and working them and logging them all himself with no problem at all. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on the other end of the shack, sitting over here on the couch, just kicked back and watching him. It was so much fun to
beaming with pride there. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, that sounds exactly what Kids Day is about. The Jamboree in the Air stuff from the Boy Scouts. That's a great program too. I've had some fun times as I've came across some of those folks operating, and get a chance to chat with them. Oftentimes out and about with portable stations and some things as well. But a lot of fun. Well, so the end of June here coming up is the big one, folks. Field Day is June 24. This is the most popular on-the-air event in the United States. Some clubs and crews by now have all the planning done, as we're mere hours away from June now. They've planned where to put up the crank up trailer tower. They got the plans of who's bringing the get on the air station. Mothers are more focused on who's going to have enough baked beans. These are which is arguably more important. At any rate, make a plan to help put Arkansas thoroughly on the map this year. No matter if you're going to be running in a big multi-transmitter outfit on battery power out somewhere, or if you're just a regular Class D station on shore power, doesn't matter. Get on the air. Help put Arkansas on the map and have some fun with it. Field Day is just a lot of fun. You can't if you have an hour even or whatever you have to sit down and get on the air. There's really not a more fun. It's not really a contest environment. Everyone's out there trying to make QSOs and typically rack up some QSOs, but it's really about just getting on the air and having fun. So it's a bit more informal. Folks are open to a bit of a conversation, a bit of a looser environment. You just can't beat field day for on the air fun.
You know, it is a lot of fun. And to your point, it is a lot of fun. You get out there and you get to see some of the folks that you hardly see. Sometimes you get together and, like you said, gather over a plate of hot baked beans or maybe some barbecue, hot dogs, hamburgers, and so on. But for some folks, it is a contest. They really love to rack up those points and see where they can place and whatnot. And that's fun, of course. And then another aspect of it is just letting others know what is ham radio. And that's the reason why a lot of field day sites, and that's the reason why you'll get extra points in field day for having your field day location at a public park or some public location where folks can just walk up and find out more about it. What is it you're doing and whatnot? And of course, a lot of folks will invite their local politicians, their local office holders and whatnot. And, there's always something. It's just like the rest of ham radio. There's something in it for everyone, whether you're a contester or you're looking to just introduce yourself to folks who we've spoken with on the air, or you're looking to just promote the hobby. Like I said, there's something in it for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely a multifaceted event. A lot of it for folks is practicing kind of emergency operation, setting up in a portable environment or something. You have 24 hours, you can set up your gear, so you're not necessarily a long-standing thing. You don't have to set up stuff. Like I said, you can operate from your home station as well. For some folks just like to bring out the old boat anchor, fire it up and keep the capacitors, lubed up and running hot there. And, so really it doesn't matter what you like about field day or really what you like about operating in amateur radio. It's in field day and you can get it there. So just get on the air. And, we always joke in Arkansas, of course, that field day being June 24 is is probably really great, for some of those New England hams, have maybe a milder summer, and is oftentimes punishing for us Arkansas hams, well into the depths of our typically pretty humid and sometimes unforgiving summer season. That is true. If you're going to go set up a portable station or something like that, it can be pretty tough. But here's a tip for your Arkansas hams. So let's say you want to run a class A, B, whatever, portable battery powered, or maybe class E, emergency powered off a generator or something like that. You only have to have your operating gear on the battery, respective generator, whatever it may be, right? So if you have a computer for digital or something, that would have to be on it, and your radios, the power supply, that sort of thing. Not your air conditioner, folks. Okay, so you can run your air conditioner off whatever you have, and keep the sweat down, keep the heat at bay. Enjoy your operating out there with your portable environment. Just a tip from me to you for your field day fun here in Arkansas.
No doubt. Keep it cool, keep it safe. Let's go ahead and take another pause for station identification. You're listening to the Arkansas Section Bulletin. Well, folks, don't miss out on other ways to connect with the ARRL Arkansas section.
The Arkansas section is on Facebook as ARRL Arkansas section, and on Twitter as @ARARRL. Be sure to stop by and follow the section on your social media channel of choice. If you have an upcoming event, or if your group has done something you think might interest others in the state, then head out to reddit.com and just search for the Arkansas Section Bulletin, or just hit either of us up on Twitter or at ARRL. Let us know what you'd like to hear about, what you have in mind, or what you've seen or heard in the state of Arkansas about amateur radio. We'd love to hear it, and we'd love to share it.
Absolutely, we would. Once again, that's reddit.com. That's Romeo Echo Delta Delta India Tango.com. And again, just search for the Arkansas Section Bulletin. Share all the information that you have on a story, including a point of contact for more information. If we use your story, we'll make sure to include your name. For now, I'm Joshua Carroll, November 5, Juliet Lima Charlie.
And I'm Andy Holmes, K5PO, saying 73.
The Arkansas Section Bulletin is copyright 2017 and rebroadcast permission is granted.